Hello, you snaztastic human beings! My name is Musky, and today I'm going to be talking about how to develop your own art style. So developing a style is probably one of the biggest things an artist will strive for. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a unique and instantly recognizable style? Honestly, it was pretty hard for me to do it, but I think I'm finally at a point in my life where I can say that I do have my own style. My friends also say that they can recognize my style too, so I think that's relatively enough qualification to share my tips. I don't know, but I'm gonna talk about what I know and what I did anyways. So first, what makes a style? It's a simple term that gets thrown around all the time, but what does it really mean? Well, I might not know the exact qualifications, but I do know that it's line art, simplification, color, and signature stroke. So line art is easy. It's how you draw and color your line art. Examples are using a hard brush, soft brush, or no brush at all. Adding color to your line art is part of a style too, as some people will have a single or multicolored line art, or, like me, you'll color it. Some people use like black or brown, and it honestly does save time. Personally, I just like coloring my line art, but there's a lot you can do with line art. So, let me pull up some of these examples and show you exactly what I mean by, different line art styles. So, first by Creatisticlyreal here, we have an example of completely black line art. You can zoom in, and that is, I guess it's not exactly black, but it looks pretty much black, and yeah, actually it is black. It's just, the pixels, but whatever. You can tell that all throughout the line art it is black, and it really, from far away, it stands out. You can see everything, and that's really what black line art does. Using a dark, it doesn't have to be black, but using a darkly colored line art all throughout really achieves a popping effect, and it's one of the quickest ways to do line art because you can do it all in one layer, and it can be easy. I used to do it, and I think she does it actually really well because her lines are so clean. What are these lines? I love her art so much. And here is an example by GameyLamey of still one colored line art, but instead of black or dark brown, this is a pretty light blue. It's not the lightest blue, but it is blue all throughout the entire drawing, and it really works for this character. She has blue hair, blue clothes, she's blue all over, and it works really well. So both of these cases are really good examples of how solid single color line art can really make your piece pop, and it contributes to her style because both of these artists consistently use single colored line art, so it's one of their recognizable aspects. Now, another example that we have is from Ms. Coco and north.mor. These are slightly colored line art. You can still tell that the majority of the color is, it's kind of this brownish, but you can tell that this compared to this are very different colors. This is red and this is black. This is a gradient of skin tones, actually, if you can, go through. This is purple. So you can tell, this is kind of I would describe it as a sketchier line art style, I guess. I don't really know the exact term, but this, I think, is probably one of their most defining, features of their art style. I just actually came across this artist this July for Art Fight, and that was one of their the things that stuck out to me the most was the way that they colored their line art, and it's pretty consistent. There's it's always just gradients, I would say. There's always just so many colors happening in the line art. And then example by north.mor, it's really similar. They may not be gradients, but they are still individually colored line art spaces. The hair is this kind of purpley brown. These thingies are green. The shirt, kind of matches the coloring. This is, I guess, an example of the line art matching the coloring. And, it may not use as intense gradients, but you can still tell that each, line art segment is per color of, the base color. That sentence made no sense, but I really hope you can understand what I mean. And in both cases, I really do think that that's one of their, key features. When I think of their line art, I always think, oh yeah, these two artists, they colored their line art, and it makes it stand out really well. Another example, I think in the voiceover I said no brush. They're still using a brush, but it's more of a no line art feature here by Toxic Rot. I mean, I don't actually know. Thank you for the, update. I don't know if you heard that or not, but I got a little update sound. But, I don't actually know if they used a line art for this. They might have. This could be like really thin line art. I don't know their process, but the whole point is that from far away, it looks like they didn't use a line art brush at all. And, that is evident by you can see that like the shadows create the line art. And again, I don't actually know if they did use line art. They might have. I don't know, but that's not what matters. Is from far away, I would describe this as having no line art. And from here, same thing. Like, you can, I guess this, I don't actually know if it's line art or not, but based on how this artist, Watermelon, colors their line art, it looks like there is no line art. And that is also part of a style. It can either kind of create more of like a sticker cartoony effect or like a painting effect. And there's like tons of artists that also don't use line art, or they'll color their line art to be the same color as the actual colors, if that makes sense. And one last example, two more of my favorite artists. These are what I would use as soft and colored line art, because the other ones were relatively hard line art. Some of them were soft and sketchy, but this, you can tell that they use really soft brushes. And same thing, like this artist, Budgie colors her line art, and this is all like pink, mainly because I think the entire drawing is pink, but still the idea of gradients and having the line art also be part of the things that you color. And here with Pastel Pandas, soft brush, you can tell it's a little sketchy, and it still kind of blends in with the lighting. So basically, with all of these examples, with I'm trying to like talk and click at the same time. With all these examples, each different technique looks really good. I am a fan of literally all of these techniques, and I think it contributes to their style. I think the way that these artists do their line art is part of their art style. Simplification would basically be how simple certain aspects of your drawings are. Some people simplify shading, some do clothes or hair. Unless you're drawing a photorealistic copy of some attractive dude on Pinterest, you probably have some sort of shortcut you take to simplify your drawings, and all those shortcuts can turn into a style. For example, I had a huge style change one year, and I can point out the biggest differences. This drawing's hair is much more simplified than how I draw a hair now, and my eyes were a lot more detailed back then than they are now. Simplification isn't a bad thing, and not detailing some part of your art does not make you a bad artist. It's really about what you like to draw and what you like to see. I, for one, really love drawing hair, so it's usually the most detailed part of my drawing. I do still love drawing eyes, but I naturally ended up drawing smaller eyes and simplifying them so I could draw more attention to the hair. Simplification is a genuine technique in art based on where you want the attention to be shifted. I don't know the actual technique for that, but I do know that you can develop your style based on simplifying the things that you don't like to draw as much, or detailing something that you really like to draw and just naturally simplifying parts around it. Color is how you shade your art. There are so many types of shading. We have cell shading, realistic, none at all, minimal, and probably way more. The brush you use can affect how you shade too. I like using a softer brush since while I think cell shading looks really nice, I personally really hated drawing it. It just took too much time and I could never make it look good. You might need to experiment with it, but when you find a shading method you really like and enjoy, it's one step closer to developing your style. The last thing I could think about is a signature stroke. That's not an official term or anything, I just made it up because it sounds neat, but it's basically a part of your art that you include in almost every drawing. For me, I do these weird eyelash things here. I don't know why, but it's been consistent in nearly all my art. Other examples could be how you do your eyebrows, or some funky hair tuft, or even stylized calves that I tried to do a few years back, but it definitely did not work out as well as others have done it. So now that we've talked about the technical stuff you could experiment, let's talk about what's next. Firstly, you want to find out what you actually like to draw. Having your own style means having your own shortcuts and preferences, and art stops being fun when you aren't enjoying a certain process. For example, I used to hate drawing line art. It was my most dreaded step, and sometimes I could make it look good, but other times you could tell how eager I was just to move on. The problem was that I was using a hard brush despite having very, very shaky hands. It took forever just to get a clean stroke, and overall, it just wasn't an enjoyable process for me. It was only until this year when I switched to a softer line art brush that I actually liked drawing line art. It's actually really fun to do now, and it's because soft line art works for me. It works for my shaky hands. Something important is to look at your favorite artists and see what they do. It's hard to know what you like in art without having an example. Here are some drawings that I really like, so let's break them down. First, we'll start with line art since we were just talking about that a bit ago. Something noticeable is how the line art is actually softer here instead of the hard brush I used to do. I really like how artists use softer brushes, so I tried to switch to one. It took a little practice, but I eventually found a specific brush that I really liked. Now I can actually enjoy line arting since for me it's much easier to use a less opaque brush, and I think it looks really good. Next, let's look at the shading of these drawings. I really like how the hair shading is a lot more softer, like this, and if I look at my older cell shading drawings, I much prefer the softer shading. Basically, it's really important to compile a bunch of different drawings of artists you like and take inspiration from them. So once you have your compilation of neat art things, it's time to start practicing. Let's start with something simpler, like eyes. Look at drawings of eyes you like and try to draw them. Personally, I think it's better not to look for a video tutorial as you want to develop your own style from this, and seeing something done step by step might end up looking like a copy rather than if you tried to eyeball it. It can be hard not to copy a reference, so I recommend using more than one image as a reference. However, I did watch videos for certain topics like skin shading because it was something I just couldn't grasp by image alone. You want to be able to draw this stuff on your own and not copy as an artist. So if you do use a video reference and you do copy the drawing the first time around, draw it again and again to the point where, the more you recreate it on your own, then the less it'll look like that first video copy. And that's how you can actually figure out those art things that you do enjoy versus what the artist in the video did. So anyways, I'm going to look at how this person draws and try to recreate it a few times. Once I've drawn it almost exactly as it looks like in the reference, I'll draw more eyes, this time looking in different ways, but in the same style. The more you stray from the original source's pose, the more you start to figure out a style. The more I draw this eye, I start to realize that I'm not really a fan of doing eyelashes like this, so I started doing them like this since it was easier for me to draw. If you do end up watching tutorials, let's say, for an eye, draw it several times. Once while you watch the tutorial video, then one referencing the eye you just drew. Drawing it over and over again will help you determine your own flair to it. When I referenced the eye, it looked a lot more exact the first time, but when I drew it multiple times, I changed some parts of the highlights and the shadings and everything. So let's sum up. Firstly, understand the parts of your art that you can stylize. This can be anatomy, shading, line art, or almost anything. Look at artists you admire to see what you like in art. If you don't have any favorite artists yet, just go to Pinterest or Instagram and look up hot anime boys or something. You could even look for fan art of your favorite characters and find good artists that way. I mean, look at this Ibuki. Look at her. She's so beautiful. Not only do I get to look at beautiful wifey art, but I like this artist too. Finding a style can take a really long time because it's really about your own artistic experiences. Stylization comes from naturally finding things you hate and love about art. Sure, there's ways to make your art style stand out, but it's not something you can really rush. Start experimenting now with things you've liked about other artists' art but never really tried yourself. Think crayon line art is cute? Try a quick drawing with it. Want to try out cell shading? Do it! It doesn't have to be a masterpiece, but as long as you're experimenting, you'll end up finding things you enjoy, and you can use that to create your own style. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments about anything I just said, and feel free to leave suggestions for other videos I should make. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. Do me a favor and check the description below to give all the artists that were featured in this video some love. Honestly, a big thank you to Toxic Rot, Ms. Coco, North.mor, Starzono, ItsBrenAgain, Creatisticlyreal, GameyLamey, Pastel, Panda, Watermelon Sugar, koruhiko, budgieillus, and lilythegumdrop. they're all just amazing and talented artists, and I admire their art a lot. Even if their art styles are pretty different from each other, I still really love the way that each of them do stuff, and I want to be able to draw like them, and I'm working on my own style while taking inspiration from them and other artists out in the wild of, Pinterest wild. But yeah, please, I'll have the links to everyone's social media in order of appearance in the description, so just do me a favor, go down, click their links, give them a follow, or just like their post, just show them some love because they honestly really deserve it. Thank you again to all of these artists for letting me use your art in the video. I really do appreciate it. It really helped demonstrate my point a lot better than if I were to use just my own drawings for all of these. So yeah, thank you so much guys for being so nice to letting me use it. And yeah, for everyone watching the video, I hope you have a great day or night wherever you may be, and goodbye.